Welcome everyone to another Lake Lewis Jr. show. Appreciate you joining us as always. And if you want to follow and subscribe to this show, it's very easy. You can go on our YouTube channel, which is under the Sports Journey channel, or if you just go to YouTube and type in the Lake Lewis Jr. show, you can subscribe and be able to watch the program. And if not, if you want to get it in audio, all you have to do is go to the likes of Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name the podcast carrier, and this show is on there. The show talks about the Washington Commanders, and it's NFL centric, as I'm an insider with the NFL and the Washington Commanders. So I want to get right into it, folks, because what we saw on Monday night in Cincinnati was epic. What we saw was a rookies coming out party nationally as far as signaling that he perhaps is the next great player in the NFL. And I know it's early. I know it's only 3 games into his career, but your eyes don't lie. And what you saw Monday night with Jayden Daniels, who, by the way, today was named the NFC Player of the Week. He threw for 254 yards, was 21 of 23, had a 91% completion ratio. I mean, what didn't he do? He scored a touchdown running for that at 39 yards. And he did this on the biggest stage in football. Everyone dreams of playing on Monday Night Football, and for him to do what he did, lifting his team to a victory over a team that they weren't scheduled to beat. They weren't favored to beat at all. Matter of fact, going into that football game, the Commanders were 7.5-point dogs, and they won 38-33, a game that they did have to, eke out, so to speak, if you can call it that, because the defense didn't do anything for them. But I think Jayden Daniels clearly showed that each week he's the best player on the field, if not the second worst player. And if you're a Washington Commanders franchise that has been devoid of a franchise quarterback probably since I've been alive, and I want to say that, not to date myself, but I think for Washington, you probably have to go back maybe 55, 60 years. Like, they have not had a franchise caliber quarterback. They've had some really good quarterbacks. Remember, Joe Gibbs won Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks because he had outstanding offensive lines. He had a Hall of Fame wide receiver in Art Monk and a really good one in Gary Clark, who, by the way, should be in the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, he had those stellar running games with John Riggins and Ernest Biner. They were a loaded football team. Great defenses, too. But his quarterbacks had great seasons in those individual years. But as far as sustaining it for 10, 15 years, they haven't had that. And I think when you look at Jayden Daniels and you look at his game, you can clearly see that he's going to be an elite quarterback in the NFL. And Monday night, he signaled to the NFL. He put the NFL on notice. I think the Washington Commanders now believe that they can win football games because they have the most important position covered, and that's at the quarterback spot. I liken what I'm seeing to Jayden to Lamar Jackson, and I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. Do not be fooled. Do not let the naysayers say, he's no good. He chokes in the playoffs. No, he doesn't. Lamar Jackson's never really been surrounded with top flight receivers. He's had one here, one there, but he's never had the weaponry that a lot of guys, have had. Imagine if Lamar Jackson had what Joe Burrow has in Cincinnati. You would see a different storyline. Imagine if Lamar Jackson has what Caleb Williams has as a rookie in Chicago. You might see a different storyline. He's had tight end play, but Lamar Jackson's never had a whole lot. So with that said, he still has 2 MVPs to his name. And I'll say this, coming up in the next segment, because I'm going to have 2 members of SportsJourney.com on with me. They do a great job covering the NFL. Bob Matthews and also DJ Bland. They'll be on a little bit later on today. If you look at Jayden Daniels and Lamar Jackson, very similar. They both can get outside the tackles, get outside the pocket, and make things happen with their legs. And it's electrifying to watch both of these guys. But this is where the difference settles in. Lamar Jackson's an underrated passer in the NFL. I truly believe that. But he's still not an upper echelon elite passer. He's just not. That's not his overall package. Jayden Daniels has a chance to be that. He has a chance to be an upper echelon elite quarterback when it comes to throwing the rock. And you pair that with his running style and his running ability, we may be seeing something we haven't seen before. And I say that because he's efficient with the football, does not turn the football over. Matter of fact, he hasn't turned the football over as a professional. He has not turned the football over yet, has not fumbled, has not thrown a pick. And that's huge. That's something that you can't just teach. It's an innate ability to know when to get rid of the ball, when to get down when you're running, and just not turn it over. And he doesn't do that. And I think when you look at him and Lamar and you see those similarities, the separation becomes what happens in the pocket. Jayden Daniels is an 8.5 quarterback in the pocket right now. He sees things. He sees the field. And to me, that goes back to his time at LSU. When you think of who he was playing in the SEC, a Nick Saban Alabama defense that was running pro sets, a Kirby Smart Georgia defense that had press man coverage corners. That's what they do there, and have great defensive up front, pressure. So he was kind of seeing some pro style setups while he was in college. And then if you go back to his days at Arizona State and add that with his time at LSU where he won the Heisman Trophy last year, 55 career starts. That's a lot of football games, folks. That's a lot of games for one player to play in college, let alone at the quarterback position. But I want to say this too, for everyone that is a little worried about, him getting hurt outside the tackles. That's just the nature of the game today, folks. Most great quarterbacks can put the football down, tuck it, and run and make some plays when they have to. And I think when you go back to that game against the New York Giants a couple weeks ago, after he took that hit, he's been a different quarterback. He's been a guy that has been pinpoint accurate, quick decision making, and not taking the unnecessary hit. I think in the Cincinnati game on Monday night, he took one big hit, but he did it because he had to get a first down. So he sacrificed himself for the betterment of his team. You don't want to have that happen all night, but on occasion, you're going to need that. You see that with Lamar. So for my money, what we saw Monday night was something we've never seen before. The statistics say it. He's done something that no one else has done this early in their career. Matter of fact, I just saw a stat today, and it was Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. And collectively, over the whole course of their careers combined, they have two games where, collectively, if you put them all together, they equal two games where there was no punt, where they scored on each possession. Jayden Daniels has done that 2 times in 3 NFL starts already. That's just an incredible number when you think about it, and it's something that we probably will never see again. So his career is off to the right start, upward trajectory. Washington has a legit chance to go this weekend into Arizona and get a W. They're a team right now that has confidence. Terry McLaurin, what can you say about him? Made plays and did what he was supposed to do as a number 1 receiver for this team. When his number was called, he delivered, and he delivered big time. And now to see that kind of confidence develop between him and Jayden, where they know they can get this done at an elite level together, it opens up things even more. The running game is there. They're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL after 3 games. So if you're a Commanders fan, this stuff right now has to feel good for you because you've been wanting this for a long time, and now you have it. Don't feel like you're looking at a mirage. Don't feel like you're going to wake up and it's a dream and it's going away. This is real. This is legit. You have a real owner who wants to be good at what he does. You have a GM that has a great eye for talent in Adam Peters. You have a head coach that players love in Dan Quinn. And you have an offensive coordinator that's innovative in Cliff Kingsbury. Now you need to get Joe Witt on the defensive side of the ball. He wants to be a physical, violent defense, and I think they'll get there. They don't have all the pieces in play on their defensive side of the ball right now. So if Washington can get their defense up to par, this could be a dangerous football team. I'm not saying they're going to be a Super Bowl contender, but I will say this. When you have a player, like I said, that's going to be no worse than the second best player every game, every Sunday, Jayden Daniels will be no worse than the second best player on the team. A lot of the times he's proving that he probably will be the best player on the field. you're going to win football games. You're going to be in football games. Your offense is going to give you a legitimate chance now. So, again, my friends, if you're a Commanders fan, you have to feel ecstatic after that win on Monday night. If you want to follow me, folks, you can go on social media and follow me on X, which is formerly Twitter, on Facebook, on IG. You can follow me at Lake Lewis Jr. Once again, it's at Lake Lewis with the JR at the end. And then, of course, you can go to sportsjourney.com, where some of my colleagues are doing some great work on the site, carrying that site for me right now, because I have some other ventures I'm in that I can't really get on there as much. But if you go to sportsjourney.com, you will not be disappointed. It's a lot of great work on there from some guys that are really working extremely hard to bring you great content. And then, of course, this show right here. I appreciate it if you're watching it right now, if you're listening to it, and you're in your car right now. Just be safe, make sure you get home safely, whatever you're doing out there. So look, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to have Bob Matthews and DJ Bland from sportsjourney.com on with me, and I'll get their reactions and their insight as to what they saw on Monday night with the big win from the Washington Commanders over the Cincinnati Bengals. Hang tight. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Lake Lewis Jr. Show. And as always, each week, as I mentioned to you before, we're going to bring in two of our family members from Sports Journey who do a great job in their own right covering the NFL and the Washington Commanders on top of that. So let's bring them in now. We have Mr. Bob Matthews. You can check out his great podcast at the Bob Matthews Show. And then we have DJ Bland, who does a great show on the Not Bland Show. So make sure you guys check out those two outstanding podcasts, and you can go to sportsjourney.com for more information on these guys and the great work that they're putting up on the site as well. So what's up, my friends? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. It was a little bit of a late night on Monday. I didn't think I was going to be writing that long, but phew. Tell you what, they always say it's a week-to-week league, don't they?
It absolutely is. And DJ, I couldn't wait to get both you guys on, because you guys have been critical of this franchise over the past several seasons covering them, and rightfully so. We all have. But you two have had a little extra juice, and I love it because it was dead on the things that you were saying. But what you saw Monday night, does it put your mind at ease knowing that they have a franchise caliber quarterback in Jayden Daniels? DJ, what did you see?
Absolutely. What we've seen for the past 2 weeks prior to this game, just him being and taking command. It's not just about what he's doing on the field, but it's about what he's doing also with his teammates. The camaraderie he has with them, you can tell that that's there. They respect him, they love him, and man, what a way to stand tall and stand firm in a game that was hard fought against a veteran fellow LSU alum, and come out on top the way that he did. That is impressive, and fans should be super excited.
Yeah, Bob. I mean, you were a guy that you've seen multiple quarterbacks in this town. And,
Yeah.
you and I, we was talking in the press box about how wouldn't it be nice to just have a toy of your own that, you could actually say, we have one now that can keep us in every game and give us an opportunity to win. Are you convinced now, after what you saw the other night, that they have that now in Jayden Daniels?
I'm very close now,
Okay.
and the whole time I'm watching this in performance, and it was incredible. I kept thinking of what our good friend Brian Mitchell always says, give it 6 weeks, because they're going to start to get tape on him. But there is absolutely no doubt about it. Jayden Daniels is something special, and he is the type of guy. And we saw it a little bit against the Giants, but we really saw it this week, that just elevates everybody around him. And that's what it takes to be a franchise quarterback. He doesn't have to have everything going right in order to make a big play. We certainly saw that with the two long passes to Terry McLaurin. He held onto the ball a little long a couple of other plays, but again, he made the big plays when he had to. And yeah, I mean, for the first time in 25 years, or longer maybe, this team actually has a difference maker. at the position that you need to have a difference maker as. Hell, if it keeps going like this, who knows? Maybe the team will actually let me back into the press box. But I digress.
Listen,
I'm only kidding.
I mean, listen, I'll say this. I think, and I've been saying this from every day in training camp and practice, what my eyes saw was just a different talent. He was the best player on the field.
Yeah.
And it's clear now that, when people keep talking about what does his impact mean for Washington, well, let's put this in perspective. If your quarterback, which is the most important position in all of sports, some say, definitely in the NFL, if your quarterback week in and week out will be no worse than the second best player on the field, you have a chance to win football games. It's just bottom line. And you can go back to the Tampa game. To me, Baker Mayfield was the best player on the field that game. Jayden Daniels was the second best player. Last week against New York, he was the best player on the field. Last week against Cincinnati, I know Joe Burrow threw for over 300, but Jayden Daniels was the one making the plays. He looked like the wily veteran. He was the best player on the field. If Washington rolls into every week, I can say safely right now, Arizona Sunday, he won't be any worse than the second best player on the field. And that's depending on how Kyler plays. As long as you have that week in and week out, this football team has a chance to beat in every game they play and have hope to win every game they play. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but that's what elite quarterbacks do for franchises. The Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady's, if you look right now, Josh Allen in Buffalo, they believe every time they line up Patrick Mahomes that they can win a game because they have the right guy calling the plays for him, signal caller. The other thing that is important that I think people need to note here is that for my money, fellas, I thought Cliff Kingsbury, I'm even going back to when he was the head coach in Arizona. To me, that was the best game he ever called as a professional. That's what I saw. And he made every correct call. He ran the right plays to free up Terry. And that's the kind of stuff you're going to need week in and week out. And if they can get those kind of contributions from him, as well as Terry, as well as Jayden, this is a scary outfit. DJ.
It is, man. I like the right balance there. And what stood out to me the most, you didn't ask too much of your quarterback. You didn't ask him to throw it 30, 40 times, in this game. He had 23 attempts. He was 21 to 23, throwing darts out there. Yeah. 2 important touchdowns. This is what you want to see from this team. The offensive line seems to be playing well also, but I will agree with you. Give Cliff Kingsbury his flowers. He really has done a great job of understanding what his offensive line and how they perform and how they will perform well if he does certain things. He also understands what's going to make his quarterback be able to be more comfortable in the pocket and hopefully throw with more anticipation as he gets more comfortable. Calling the right plays are so important when it comes down to games of inches, and they have a rhythm on offense.
Now, Bob,
he has.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, he has conducted this offense, and I got to give some love to the Virginia Symphony. He has conducted it like Joanne Falletta at the Virginia Symphony. That's how good it's been. And what a difference, in coaching this year as compared to last year. I mean, my goodness, it's just, it's night and day. And it really underscores what the problem has been with this franchise for the last probably 15 or 20 years. It was stuck in the past thinking, well, you don't need, we won 3 Super Bowls with somewhat ordinary quarterbacks. If you have a good offensive line, if you have a good defense, if you've got elite receivers, if you've got a great running back, you can be okay and you can win with a game manager. And the simple fact of the matter is, in the modern day NFL, you are not going to win without an elite quarterback. It's just that simple. I was wrong about it. I thought they could have done it the other way. That's not the case. And you see that in the way they're playing here with Daniels at quarterback.
Well, for the record, I'm not going to sit here and pat myself on the back, but I've been telling people that he was the guy that they need. he was the selection. He was the pick. And I was getting infuriated when people were like, no, they need Drake May or they, anyone else. Listen, if there was no way you were getting Caleb, to me, Jayden was the obvious safe selection. But let me go further than that. I keep saying I'm not so sure that if Washington had the number one pick, I still think they were going to take Jayden Daniels. That's how much Dan Quinn and Adam Peters
Yeah.
likes this guy, and they feel like he's the person to lead them into the future.
Mhm.
And the future's right now, because when you see today, he's NFC Player of the Week. I mean, these are the kind of accolades that you just don't see in Washington. And for the record, I mean, they had, last week their kicker was special teams player of the week. So they're trending in the right trajectory. Now, with all these great things that we're talking about here, we do need to go to the other side of the football. And that's not looking too hot right now. So I'll start with you, Bob. How disappointed are you in what John
Mhm.
Allen and Daron Payne are not doing on the field?
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously it's a point of concern, but Connor Forrest and I were talking about this on his post-game show.
Mhm.
Yeah, there is a lack of talent on the defensive side of the ball. And yes, the two guys that they were counting on to kind of overcome all that haven't done that in
Mhm.
Payne and Allen. And they have to. You have to be able to beat double teams. I'm sorry if you're getting double teamed all the time.
So what? You're getting
But
paid to get double teamed, then beat double teams.
Facts.
yeah, exactly. And and maybe what I'm about to say is, a case of winning is kind of the best deodorant, but maybe I think what we saw Monday night was maybe Joe Witt and Dan Quinn working with what they have, knowing that they've got some big deficiencies out there. If this defense just gives it up from the 20 to the 20 and they're able to, shrink the field when you get in the red zone and keep the other teams out, that might be what we're going to see this year from this defense, is that they're going to bend but not break. Now, obviously, there are going to be a bunch of breaks this year, but I think at this point they'd be served just sitting in a cover two pretty much all game, because you saw literally the first time that they walked somebody down, they walked a safety down into the box. Burrow went over the top to Jamar Chase and burnt
Yeah.
him for a touchdown. So yeah, it's an issue, and it'll be their undoing eventually. But maybe they can coax a few more wins out of this defense just by being stingy in the red zone.
Yeah, it did appear to me that I'm old enough to remember when Richie Pettibone was the defensive coordinator when they were winning Super Bowls, and he had a bend but don't break defense, and
Mhm.
they let you move the ball in between the 20s, and then they clamped down on you once you got near the red zone or in the red zone. And it seems eerily similar that that's kind of what's happening, because they got beat on that first play by Jamar Chase. After that, it was like no one gets put behind them. Just keep everything in front of you,
Right.
and you hope you can make a play or two and get them off the field. Didn't work out that way. So DJ, I'm going to pose to you: when do you? I don't want to say officially hit the panic button with the defense as far as the defensive line not having a pass rush, but when do you say, you know what? We may have to look elsewhere. Maybe we might entertain a trade with one of these tackles. Normally, you don't see in-season trades in the NFL like you do in the NBA or some other sports. But is that something that you would start to contemplate if this thing continues, the downward slope that it's going right now?
Yeah, it's something I definitely continue actually, think about and give some thought about, because I'm gonna tell you right now, week 4 is the Arizona Cardinals, and sure they've looked hot at times, but nothing consistent.
Mhm.
And I'll go back to the Giants game, an offense that's got one player and an average quarterback, and they made plays.
Yeah, they
Look,
did.
Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen had combined 2 tackles. That's a problem for me.
And Jerzon
And
Newton had more than them combined. Their rookie tackle,
that's
who
a
I think you're
problem.
going to start seeing, kind of bump some guys playing
Yes.
time a little bit. Uh,
Yes.
and that's what I was, bringing to your attention, DJ, was because let's face it, we've been critical of things. We have. And you can't help but see that Dan Quinn and company, they're definitely taking this thing in the right direction. They look like a modern
Yes.
professional outfit with some talent.
Yes.
But the problem that I have is you saw one of the guys from the old regime ball out the other night, and Terry McLaurin. You know what you have in him.
Yeah.
You need to see that from the other two guys,
Facts.
who are the mainstays. And we haven't seen it, not just against Cincinnati, not against New York, not against Tampa. We haven't seen it all year. And
Right.
you can't give them a pass. There are fans out there saying, oh, well, Allen got a couple pressures. He's not getting paid to get a couple of pressures. He's getting
Facts.
paid to be disruptive. Deron Payne's being paid to be disruptive, to not get pressures, but to bring ball carriers down. How many times did we see Deron let a ball carrier get out of his grasp? I mean, you can't have that. And especially when your two interior guys are the two highest paid guys, as a unit in the league. So you can't have that. As far as some bright spots on defense, DJ, who's standing out to you on that defensive side of the ball?
Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, those guys are making plays. I do like what I see in Benjamin St. Juice. He's tightened up over the last 3 weeks here, and sure, sometimes you're going to get beat, and that's just the life of a corner, especially a life of a corner when he's got two big guys up front that play like poodles. He's having to cover a little bit longer than most. So at the end of the day, I have to give him a lot of credit. Jeremy Chin is also making plays. I'd like to see him do a little bit more, but hey, again, you got two outside guys and two poodles in the middle. You're covering a lot longer than you should be. So these guys are making plays, and I think if they can get just minimal, you don't have to be great. They just be decent in the middle there and get a little bit more disruption. We're going to see a lot better play from the guys on the back end, but they need some help.
Yeah,
and not to mention the fact that if they don't get that help from Allen and Payne, remember, we're talking about the most effective version of this defense is when they play cover two and keep those two high safeties up there. If you can't stop the run, that forces the Commanders to bring that extra guy into the box, and then you get beat deep. So it's almost the linchpin of covering up the weaknesses is getting Allen and Payne to play stout against the run.
Bob, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's actually where I was getting ready to go with you. Is that okay? They're interior linemen. A lot of times, interior linemen aren't known to be sack artists. We understand that. But for everyone that's saying that they're getting double teamed, they've been getting double teamed their whole career in Washington. They traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young last year. Do you think people were not double teaming them and letting their tackles or their ends at the time, who are no longer even on the team? Do you think they were worried about those guys? Absolutely not. So whatever's happening right now, the thing that stands out to me, and you just said it, Bob, is they're getting gashed up the middle of the field. Every team this year, going back to Tampa, has successfully rushed the ball right up the middle of the field on them. That's not double team. That's where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be anchors. So my question to you, Bob, is do you think this might be a scheme issue? Because let's face it, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, although they did great things in Dallas as far as creating turnovers and havoc on the field, teams would line up and smash them in the mouth running the football right into the teeth of their defense. Is that something that could be a scheme issue here?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. You got to remember that essentially and I know they say, well, we've got all different packages and this and that, but essentially they're running a 3-4 this year where they have been running a 4-3. So, and again,
Well, I think we may.
linemen in a 3, the linebackers can make the tackles. If you want them to eat space, they need to be big Tony Siragusa looking guys, and that's not John Allen and Deron Payne. I mean, those guys aren't nose tackles. They're defensive tackles in a 4-3. So yeah, there could be it could be schematically, indeed, without question.
Yeah.
And if it is, not that any of us have ever been in a meeting room with any of the coaches, but it would not surprise me if they kind of made a strategic decision, maybe, back in mini camp and said, we're just going to have to do what we can do on defense and fix it in the coming off season.
All right. Well, guys, let me before we wrap this up, we have about 7-8 minutes. Everything's such a feel good story right now. So everything is on the up and up. And I actually expect them to go into Arizona and get a W. I truly believe that. I think that they have all the makings to do that. If Washington were to win this football game Sunday against the Cardinals, is it safe to say that they are a playoff contender at that point? DJ.
Yeah, I think so. With what you're seeing on offense, it's consistently improving. You can say you have a bend but don't break defense because, as Bob said, they may allow 20 to 20, but when you get in the red zone, they tighten you up and make you work for it, make you earn it, and a lot of times keep you out of it. So, yeah, I mean, in this division with crummy Dallas, fake Giants team that looked good last week, and the Eagles who we really don't know who they are either between Sirianni's poor coaching and Kellen Moore's poor play calling. Yeah, they got to be a playoff team in this weak division.
All right, Bob, do you concur with that?
I do. I'm trying to talk myself out of it. I keep saying to myself,
He's forever the pessimist.
Remember Jim Zorn and the 6-2 start. But the way Daniels is playing right now, again, yeah, are there a ton of things that could still go wrong? Sure. There's going to be a lot more tape on him the second half of the season. But you're right. I think that the biggest reason you can think that this is going to have some staying power is like what both of you said. We know that Dallas is ready to implode at any second. We know the Eagles are on a cliff, getting ready to jump off, and the Giants are just a grease fire right now. So, who knows? The 9-8 might just be good enough to win the division this year.
Yeah, I said the other day on someone else's show that when the season started, I said 11 wins the division without question. I'm still saying this. I still think the Eagles win the division. I do. But I have said, and you guys, we can go back and roll the tape for anyone who's watching and don't believe this. I said that I thought Washington was going to be the second best team in the division. I still feel that that's the case, but now Jayden is a little extra special. We knew he was going to be really good as a rookie. This guy's not just good. This guy's like elite good quarterback play in the league as a whole. So if he can continue this kind of play, they have a chance to hang with Philadelphia for this division. And I truly mean that. And that's with a porous defense. Now imagine if the defense can get to 60-65% as far as their play. Because right now they're failing. If they were getting a grade, this is an F defense right now. Okay.
F-.
That's harsh, man. So I understand. Look, I'll give them credit. They are getting to the ball with bad intentions, some of them. That's a good thing, but not all 11 are doing that. So if they can get all 11 on board, and Dan Quinn said today, in his presser that he truly believes that there's some good things that are happening and they'll get better and better. And I agree with him on that. But if your defense can get to, let's just say 65-70% play with that offense, this is a dangerous football team. If this defense could play up to an 80%, they become a contender. That's how drastic of a change we're looking at from this year compared to last year. We don't even want to mention last year. We don't mention old regimes around here. So that's done. That's dry. That's dead. Let me say this, guys. This might get me on the hot seat with some folks. You guys know I'm a huge Lamar Jackson fan. Always have been. Think he's the most athletic, electrifying player in the NFL. I still believe that. I think Jayden's close and this is why I say this. If Lamar 1 through 10, 10 being outstanding, is from a running style, quarterback, he's a 10. We've never seen that before. Jayden to me is like an 8.5. The difference is, as far as a pocket quarterback, Lamar's a 6. Let's be honest. Jayden is like an 8.59, and he's going to get better. So if we've seen Lamar already have 2 MVPs at his young age, and he's had great success with the Ravens, obviously they can't get over the hump because of a guy named Patrick Mahomes. But outside of that, Could we be talking about Jayden Daniels being this new something we've never seen in the NFL before because of what he can do effectively from the pocket compared to just running? Bob, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's passed every single solitary test so far. And when the bar hasn't been high, but he's still cleared it with plenty of room. And yeah, at this point, we really should just enjoy the prospect of that happening because everything we have seen so far says he's earned the chance to, or we've earned the chance to get our hopes up to have that happen. So until he proves that he's in over his head, we've got to assume that he is on his way to becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the league. There's a long way to go, but I'd sure rather have this start than, Caleb Williams in Chicago or what Bryce Young's going through down in Charlotte.
Yeah, DJ. I mean, what do you think? What are your eyes seeing right now?
I have to agree with you, and here's where I'll break it down to. For fans that may say, I don't think so. The biggest problem with Lamar is his accuracy, and is he's inaccurate in the pocket, whether that's trying to do too much or whatever it is. That's the issue with him when it comes down to pocket play. We've seen that in the second game where he missed short touchdowns that should have tied or won the game and blew it.
Mm-hmm.
Jayden, you're seeing the running ability that Lamar has, but his ability to scan the field, and he's throwing dots. Those passes to Terry McLaurin were dots. If they're off by any bit, they're picked.
Yeah.
He put it where his guy can get it. And that's the difference. And you have seen that from week 1 to week 3. And we've seen it in his college career. We saw it in the preseason. That's the difference. And I think you're 100% correct. And as long as this trajectory continues to go up, you have to start talking about him in that same conversation, if not better.
And it's not just that, but you haven't seen any of the receive. One time that Jayden Daniels threw a pass, and you were like, "Oh, he's going to get that receiver killed." Guess what? You haven't, because he's not hanging receivers out to dry. They're not having to reach behind themselves to catch a pass. I mean, again, it's only 3 weeks. It's a small sample size, but he's done everything right so far.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is phenomenal. I mean, and he's definitely got the town of buzz. I mean, I haven't seen this much excitement for a burgundy and gold team probably since that 2012 run. I mean, you have to go back that far, and unfortunately, we know how that story ended. And I think that's why some fans are still like kind of like they don't want to get too hyped up or too excited because they're waiting for the train to come, the train wreck that always comes. Well, I've also said this, guys, that train wreck was supposed to have happened against the Giants when he got knocked out and missed a play or two. When he went down, that's when the train normally came. That's when the Grim Reaper, Mr. Sandman or whatever would come out there with the hook and pull whoever got hurt. And there was your hope. When he got up, I've seen a different player since he got up from that hit. He's not taking those hits now. He's quick with his timing, and he's starting to trust the players around him so that he doesn't have to do everything like he was doing in Tampa. And now you're starting to see this thing come together. So lots of excitement, fellas. I mean, this is good times, good stuff to talk about. Hopefully next week when we come back on, when you guys join me, we'll be talking about another W. I mean, because think about it. You beat Arizona. You come home and you have Cleveland, a Cleveland team that looks pretty bad right now. They fooled us too. They got a W and you thought they had turned the corner. No. So they have opportunities here to stack up some W's.
A win this week and they can easily be 6-2.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They can stack
a win
up
this
some
week
W's.
And they can very easily be 6-2 after week 8.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that. I mean, there's some intriguing games coming up on the schedule. I mean, I can't wait to play Baltimore. I can't wait to be there to see Lamar and Jayden. I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to when Caleb comes to town because it could be where Jayden really drives the stake through like Chicago. You made the wrong choice. So there's so many storylines and plots to pick up if this team can keep winning and doing things. So as always, my good friends, I'll let you guys plug yourself as far as where people can check you out. and then we'll get you out of here. So, Bob, what do you have?
Hey, the Bob Matthews podcast, you can find it on sportsjourney.com. You can find me on Twitter at Bob Matthews965. Picked up a few followers over the weekend, so thank you for that. New episode dropping probably tomorrow, so look out for that. And I just want to say we all hope the DJ stays dry here.
Yes.
With Helene coming.
Yeah, you just can't escape them, my friend. They keep coming one week after another. But
They sure
you
do.
know, for people like us up north, I used to live in Florida, and I was like, "There's no way I can continue this." Now you're in Georgia, but you were in Florida for a while, so you guys are troopers, man. You're used to this stuff. So hopefully, we're gonna be praying for you that you'll be good, though.
I appreciate it. Yeah, everybody at the Not Bland 21. You can check us out on YouTube at the Not Bland Show. We're doing a lot of football on Mondays. We'll start having some of our colleagues here at Sports Journey on, and we're covering racing on Tuesdays. It'll change once the season goes on, but man, loving you guys, loving talking about sports, and check out the great stuff that we're doing at Sports Journey, covering the NFC South. A lot of good stuff on the site for you to check out.
Absolutely. You guys were quite busy this past weekend. I greatly appreciate it. You're carrying the fort, man. I love it. I love it. I love it. So keep up the great work, and look forward to having you guys back on next week, as we'll normally do. Normally, we have these gentlemen on Monday, but because the team played Monday, we decided to wait. And yesterday was such a euphoric day. I just felt like everyone was out talking about it. Felt like today would be the better day, kind of let things settle down so the pros can really break this stuff down. So good stuff as always, my friends, and I'll have you back on next week. All right, take care.
Later.